Hey guys, welcome back to my channel if you are new. Today we are going to be talking about the books I read in March. I might be talking too soon, okay? I might be talking too soon, but I think she's back. I think she's finally out of the Onyx Storm reading slump, reading hangover, whatever it was that was wrong with me in February. The start of March, a little rough, but I think we're back. I think we are ready to go with the reading. So let's talk about the 10 books that I read in March. Okay, we started off strong. We read a book in a day. I don't know why I'm saying we. I read it. Yeah, I read a book in a day, and that was That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Human. This one is the third and I believe final book in the Mead Mishaps series by Kimberly Lemming. These books are so easy to read, just to binge. They are so quick to read as well. To be fair, the writing's quite big on the page and they're just so fast paced. The writing is really just easy to, I don't even know. It's just easy to read fast. And these stories are really fun and random, a little bit unhinged. I just really recommend this series for a fun, completely unserious fantasy that is a bit smutty, and I don't know, if you just want something completely unserious, I recommend these. Yeah, I rated it a 4 stars. This is my favourite of the series actually, and a 2 chili pepper rating. It's probably the least spicy. There's like spicy-ish things or thoughts, but there's not any actual spice until a bit later on than the other 2 books in this. I won't say who this is about, because you will find one of the characters is a very pleasant surprise if you've read the first 2. So I won't go into much about it because it was a really nice, pleasant surprise for me. I wasn't expecting it. To be honest, I just love all the characters in the series. I want more. I want like a spin-off of everyone on the ship. The whole crew. I don't know. It's just, everyone's really fun. Everyone's really different. Yeah, I really recommend this series. Okay, next I read Scythe and Sparrow by Brynne Weaver. This is the 3rd and final book of the Ruinous Love trilogy, I want to call it. I'm not entirely sure. I rate this one a 4.25 and a 3 on the spice scale. This one felt a lot different to the other 2. Fionn is 3rd and I think he's the youngest brother, and he's a doctor. And he seems the most soft, gentle and caring, which you would hope, he's a doctor. And then you've got Rose, who, I don't know how to describe her, but their love story has been going on since the first book. So it's quite interesting to see timeline wise where it follows. This does have the micro trope of writing letters to someone, and I love that. Anytime that's in a book, I eat that shit up. I don't know why, I just love the idea. I don't know if it's because now with dating it's all just texting and it's really not romantic and it's very unsexy, and the idea of writing someone a love letter, I love that. I think we need to bring back love letters because they're so thoughtful. And it's the idea that you've taken the time to write how you feel out. I don't know. But yes, it has that micro trope. So I can't even remember much about this book. I feel like it was a blur when I read it. It was a good, I think based on the ending, it was a very good roundup of the series and the 3 brothers and everything. Yeah, that's all that's all I'm going to say about this one. And then we read Spiral. In case you hadn't noticed, these 3 books I read in my finishing series I'm in the middle of vlog. So if you do want more thoughts at the time of me reading them, watch that vlog. Spiral I rated a 3 stars and it was a 2.5 chili pepper rating. I was slightly disappointed by this, I can't lie. I enjoyed Collide. I thought it was really fun. It did have that off-campus series like vibe. But, and I was so excited because she's a ballerina and she's so pretty. Okay, she annoyed me at the beginning because she had this martyr mindset, very stubborn, like I have to do this on my own, I can't ask for help, if I ask for help I'm my burden, like just this really annoying, very martyry type of mindset of always sacrificing herself for her younger brother because her parents were useless. Okay, and I get it, I do. She needed to just not. And then she was absolutely fine. And to be honest, she was a quite an open person, which I really liked. This is going to annoy me. I've just got striped hair now. And then he annoyed me. What was his name again? Elias, that's it. And then Elias really annoyed me. At first I was like, oh my god, he's so perfect, like he's so sweet. He had brought rhinestones to her dance show because she told him a story about them falling off before a performance once and her having a hissy fit and a meltdown, and so he brought them in glue and they were in his pocket just in case there was any emergencies, rhinestone emergencies before the performance. He started out great, he started out lovely. And then, not that he wasn't lovely, it's just the main conflict of this book was his mixed signals. Okay, he needed to just make his mind up and stick with it. Okay, he kept acting one way and then being like, no, never mind. And then he would do it again and then be like, no, never mind. This girl can only take so much rejection. Okay, it was getting to the point, it just got repetitive. My hair's really annoying me. I've literally just had it bleached today. First of all, my roots went white. That is like white, you know? Which they've never done before. So I feel like you can kind of tell. I don't know. It's not too bad. It's just I can tell my roots are a shade lighter than the rest of my hair. But it'll be fine. But when I get my hair washed at the like salon, at the hairdressers, I feel like it's always very like fluffy and I don't know how to like deal with it afterwards. What was I saying? Yeah, I just feel like if I was Sage, I would have been humiliated so many times that I literally could not have been with him after that. Like I would have had no confidence ever again to initiate any sort of extracurricular activities because this man, oh, he was so infuriating. He was lovely, don't get me wrong, he was sweet, but he just needed to make his mind up and stick with it and not be like, I can't. Just, if you decide so often that you can't, then just don't, okay? Just deal with it. I don't know. Technically, well, this book I started after Spiral, but I finished it last, but I read Want by Gillian Anderson. This one I'm not going to rate because it is A, non-fiction, and B, I never read non-fiction, so I don't know what I rate on non-fiction, and B, it's basically a bunch of anonymous confessions / anonymous, I don't know what to call it, because they're confessions, they're fantasies basically. This book is basically a collection of women's fantasies, and that's literally all it is. It's kind of based on a book which did kind of the same thing called My Secret Garden, Women's Sexual Fantasies, that was out in the 70s. And it's kind of a follow-on from that / in conversation with that. So it's broken up into sections of the type of fantasies that it is. So there's like specifically BDSM related, there's specific like watcher, watchee, I don't know how else to describe things. There's like more like taboo things. I think there's a whole section of women just wanting to be loved, which I cannot tell you how much that section pained me. That there is a whole group of women, probably me included, where their biggest fantasy is to just be loved and cherished by a man or woman, but to be loved and cherished. How bad is that? That should not be a fantasy, that should be an everyday reality. If you're with someone, you should just be loved and cherished. Listen, I know it's slim pickings out there, okay? I'm not even bothering to look because I know I'm gonna be disappointed. But that gives me so little hope if that many women. Yeah, anyway, so, but before each section, well, at the beginning there's like a 17-page like essay that Gillian Anderson has written, and then before every new section she's written something about the section and her thoughts. So it's definitely an interesting read. For some people, some parts might give you a little bit of a thrill, but I think as well, if you're the kind of person who feels a bit repressed in that area, or lives in an area that doesn't prioritize women's anything really, but specifically women's sexuality, I think this would be a good book to read, to know that it's okay to want what you want and you're not weird. And I think it can be an empowering book for many women. So I do recommend, but I don't know how to rate it because A, I don't read non-fiction, and B, I don't want to rate other people's fantasies and other people's words, because some of these are like a couple sentences long, some of these are a couple pages long. There was one about Pedro Pascal that was the most... Oh, here. I practice lucid dreaming. Every night I dream I have sex with the actor Pedro Pascal. Girl, that is the best way to use lucid dreaming. Anyway, yeah, that's that one. I never film sitting on the floor anymore, and now I know why, because I have wood floor, and it's not really wood. My bum and legs end up hurting. How did, as a child, did I sit with my legs crossed all day, every day? I don't know. Anyway, then I read on Kindle Den of Vipers by K.A. Knight. Listen, I thought I was going into a fantasy. I don't know why I didn't look into it. It's been on my... I think I'd like borrowed it from Kindle Unlimited back when I first got Kindle Unlimited as a subscription a couple of years ago. So completely forgot what it was about. But I thought it was a fantasy White Shoes. No. It is a dark mafia romance, White Shoes. Listen. I haven't read Wattpad since I was 15. No. Probably like 16, 17. And I wasn't one of the Wattpad fanfic readers. I was one of the Wattpad original fic readers. Okay, I read people's actual original work. There was a couple authors that I really liked that I actually then bought when they indie published their books. I actually bought them on the iBookstore. I didn't buy the physical copies. I didn't think it was possible. But I bought them on the Apple iBookstore. I think Kirsty Mosley was one. I can't remember the other author's name, but I genuinely found some, in my opinion at the time, really decent books on Wattpad, and I read people's original work. I didn't read fanfic. However, Wattpad, I came across a Dan and Phil fanfic, and it got me into Dan and Phil. So I read the fanfic, didn't go past that, to be honest, never read any more, but I found Dan and Phil through a fanfic, which I find hilarious. Anyway, and then I got all into YouTube, but Dan and Phil were the first two. Anyway, that is completely by the by. I have not read Wattpad in 10 years. And tell me, this is the most Wattpad thing I think I've ever read. Genuinely, listen, okay. I have never known an FMC to be so annoying and pathetic while trying to be badass. The only way I can describe it, right? Bear in mind, also, I thought this was set in like America, and once I started reading it, no. Then there was some little Britishisms, some British sayings, right, listen, I am British, and I enjoy reading British romance, okay? It's like, knickers should never be involved, ever, in a romance book. Excuse me, I can't sit here. I either have to be here or here. Let's just scooch forward a little bit. Knickers should never be a word used in a romance book. Okay, I'm just gonna put it out there. I do not agree with the word knickers being in a romance book, and that is how I knew it was set in the UK without there actually being any city given. I don't think we're told where it's set, ever. So there's that, and then there was this one scene with her and these 4 guys who have literally bought her off her dad, her dad's an awful person. She's a grown-ass adult, and yet they bought her somehow. I don't know. They go to this like friend of hers, and the way these two talk to each other, it's a man and then the FMC, they're constantly calling each other insults. Now do not get me wrong, talking to someone in like just insult to insult back and forward like this, very British. Yeah, the way they were saying it, so not realistic in the slightest. It's just the dialogue throughout the whole book was completely unrealistic, sounded cringy, and just wrong. The dialogue was awful. But in general, FMC, that was what I was trying to say. The FMC, I don't know anything about Kay Knight. She might be lovely, she might be nothing like how I imagine her. But knowing nothing about the author, if I had read this on Wattpad, I'd be like, this was written by a 14-year-old girl who was getting horrifically bullied and wants nothing more than to be the kind of girl who would fight back and win. But she won't be. She's like reedy, like reed thin, no muscles, probably glasses and braces that's bigger than her face, and could not throw a punch to save her life. But in her head, she's created this badass FMC that she wants to be, that curses out the bullies and beats them up to within an inch of their life, and who men just fall to the ground praising. That's what I'm saying the FMC was written by. I do not think that's necessarily who the author is. But if I had just read this on Wattpad, that is what I would assume of the author, okay? Based on the FMC. She was badass, but in my opinion, she was so annoying and pathetic and not badass in the way any actual badass is. Okay, a badass. Let's think of Violet Sorrengail, okay? That girl has lived every single day of her life in pain, to the point that being in pain is her comfort zone, okay? So when she is out battling, she doesn't care that she's in pain because she's so used to it that it doesn't mean that it just means that she can just go about the battle, okay? Let's think about Feyre with the worm, okay? Let's think about that for a minute. That girl was running around in worm shit, cut open multiple places, probably getting sepsis, and manages to kill it. Did she kill it? I'm now second guessing. Did she kill it? At the very least, she beat it and got out of there, okay? Listen. What about, I've completely forgotten her name from Serpent in the Wings of Night, but her, okay? She is a human living in a vampire world and kills vampires on a night time for the fun of it. Because they're killing humans and she's like, no, I need to stick up for them humans. So she goes out on her own and kills a bunch of vampires when she is a human living in a vampire world. And this girl is meant to be badass because she has a bat and wears massive like combat boots with heels that big. No. She was so cringy and so annoying, and I really didn't like her. However, I read the whole thing because it was quite entertaining in that Wattpad kind of way. I rated it at 2 stars, that's probably generous. I'm giving it a 2 stars purely because I was entertained. I've given it a 5 on the spice scale. I don't think I've rated anything a 5 on the spice scale that I've read before. No, probably, I don't actually have it, but Court of the Vampire Queen by Katie Robert, that's probably a 5 as well. This was just spice, but when I listen, I wasn't prepared for many of the scenes, okay? This book has 4 FMCs. They're all similar, they're all very different. Diesel, in a non-sexual way, probably the most fluffy and caring in some ways towards her, aside from Kenzo. But I don't even think half of what he did was legal. I genuinely, you have to be 50 shades of fucked up to enjoy, I don't even know. So the spice was questionable at best. There was maybe 1 or 2 scenes that were okay, that I didn't think you need to reevaluate your life choices and get therapy. So I think I've covered most of my thoughts. The FMC, awful. Dialogue, terrible. The story went on for far too long. For what it was, the story genuinely, it was over 600 pages. It did not need to be 600 pages, okay? They just fluffed it out with a bunch of spice to make it so long. It did not need to be that long. Oh, also, she was violently tortured and stabbed multiple times, and yet all they cared about was getting her home to have violent sex with her. What do you mean? And then one of the guys gets stabbed. Oh, he gets taken off to hospital. Why was she not taken to hospital? But the 2 guys who also got randomly stabbed were. Okay, anyway, I'm going to stop talking about Den of Vipers. It was terrible, but it was entertaining. So do with that what you will. Okay. Anyway, to move on to much brighter and better things. Brighter? Maybe not. But better, yes. We read One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. Oh my god. I rated this one a 4.5 stars. I give it a 1 spice because it's not really like... It's not really written out as a descriptive scene, but there is one scene in which relations occur. I feel like I need to move back now to avoid the sunlight. I originally didn't think I was ever going to read this book because I thought it was just a YA romantasy and that I wouldn't be very invested, because to be honest with you, aside from Divine Rivals, I just don't think YA is for me. I did also like the Good Girls Get a Murder series, but it's YA. I suppose I like the Inheritance games. I have the odd thing that's YA that I do enjoy. But someone then described this as being a gothic, dark fantasy, and that made it sound so much better to me, because anytime I'd heard about it, I just felt very confused by the magic system and thought it was a YA, so I wasn't too bothered. This, while I wouldn't say it's like adult fantasy, I wouldn't say it's YA either. It's kind of in the middle. Like I say, obviously there's not very detailed at all love scene. Aside from that, there's nothing at all. But anyway, to go on to this, I picked this up thinking there's only 2 books in the series. The next one's on Kindle Unlimited if I do want to go on to it. It would be a nice, easy fantasy to get into and not feel like I'm getting into this massive thing, because all I want to do at the minute is read fantasy books. So I'm so glad I picked this up. I genuinely was so invested straight away. The writing was really, it just kind of grabbed me quite quickly. You go pretty much straight into the story, and I like how it's on every chapter there's like a card that gives you kind of like more information about the cards written in a certain way and gives you some backstory at the beginning of the chapters. I really enjoyed that as well. This book, I think it was just, with the plot and the writing and the characters and everything, it gave me that feeling of, I just want to read this book. I just want to sit down and read this book, which I've not had that feeling in months. Genuinely months. And so I'm so happy, I'm so thankful for this book. I think between reading That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Human in a day and enjoying that, and then this, I feel like, listen, the cure to my fantasy Anarch Storm hangover / reading slump was going to be fantasy, apparently. Regular romance is not doing it for me right now, and that is absolutely fine. Speaking of, Raven, I did like him as an MMC. He had this like slightly charming, kind of like roguish charm about him, but he also was very serious. And I love how literally his nose is huge. His name is Raven and he's described as his nose being like a beak, and I find that absolutely hilarious. I was, like I said, I felt like the magic system was going to be really confusing, but it actually, when you're reading it, isn't. The way she's described everything, the way she's explained everything makes it so simple, and she kind of gives you little bits over the 2 books so that you get a really good understanding without being overloaded with all the information. I just loved how different it was. I've never read anything with a magic system like this. I haven't read a lot of fantasy, so I can't say it's not like anything I've ever well, I can't say it's not like anything to exist, because I don't know if there are books that's like it that came out before it, but for me, I've not read anything like this in the slightest, magic system wise. And yeah, it definitely had that dark gothic vibe because of the mist. Like they haven't even really seen the night sky or even the daylight sky. Like that's wild to me. My only real criticism is they used trees as an expletive, like the same way we'd say, oh god, like they'd be like, trees. I couldn't, that was really cringy, and in my head I was censoring it to be like god or gods even, that's fine too. I had to censor it in my own brain because reading trees, can you stop? It was annoying. So yeah, anyway, I went straight into reading Two Twisted Crowns on Kindle Unlimited. I've rated that one a 4.75 because I loved it, but it didn't quite have that 5-star feeling. And again, I got a 1 chili pepper rating. These two books you'll get more of a feel of my thoughts in a later video. I'm doing like a reading fantasy for a week type video, even though it's going over the course of a couple of weeks, to be honest. Two Twisted Crowns I thought was just even better somehow. I genuinely loved it. So One Dark Window, you're only in one person's point of view, you're only in Elspeth's point of view. But Two Twisted Crowns, you're in a few people's point of views, and you've got two different stories happening at the same time in the same timeline, and you're going between the two. And I found that the pacing was really nice with that, because you'd be going through a lot of action with this, and then you'd have the slower storyline over here that just helped break up the more not high risk, what's the word I'm thinking of? Well, let's just say the more action-packed storyline. You've then got this other storyline happening on the side with these two other characters that it broke it up quite nicely. So it meant you got a lot of what was going on without feeling like it was just bang, 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 story done. You know, and yeah, I just really liked it. I absolutely loved it. The second romance as well, loved that. How that like escalated, you got glimpses of it in the first book. It was just a really, really, really good duology, and I highly, highly, highly recommend picking up the Shepherd King duology. It's on Kindle Unlimited, both books, so if you don't want to buy them, you could, and you have that subscription, you could always give it a go on there. Yeah, I've got nothing more to say currently. I said everything in that video and I've completely forgotten already. I only filmed it like a few days ago, but anyway. Okay, these next few books I did read in a 24-hour readathon, so that video will be going up after this one. So this is going up on Wednesday, that video will be going up on Sunday. Well, technically I finished Two Twisted Crowns in that video. Then I read Minx by Sophie Lark. This one I've rated a 4.5 stars and a 4 chili pepper rating. I thought this was a bit of a Pretty Woman vibe. I knew she was an escort, but I thought it was more like sugar daddy vibes. It's not. This woman has money, okay? So it was not what I expected. And listen, there is pet play in this. I've never read a book with pet play, and it wasn't too bad. Like, it wasn't, I mean, I'm not going to say it was weird because that's rude. People enjoy that, and if they enjoy that, they enjoy that. So it wasn't too weird in that respect. It wasn't too out there. I just wasn't expecting it. But yeah, it's basically a billionaire romance with an escort, and there is a spiciness to their arrangement involving dressing up like a cat. And we'll leave it at that. Listen, I really enjoyed it. It was fun. It was very typical Sophie Lark. Her books are very easy to just sit and binge, and you're entertained. And I don't know, I don't know what it was about it. I just really enjoyed it. There's artwork throughout, as always with Sophie Lark books. I just really liked the romance. I still do not know how to pronounce his name. It's spelled like R-A-M-S-E-S. Is it Ramses? Because that's how I was pronouncing him. Is it something else? I have no idea. So let me know in the comments if you know how to pronounce his name. Listen, I love a billionaire romance. Okay, I do. And make it slightly Pretty Woman vibes and I'll be there. Then I read Next of Kin by Helen Bonham Young. No. I see Bonham, my brain is like Helen Bonham Carter. Hannah Bonham Young, not Helena Bonham Carter. Hannah Bonham Young. This one I've rated a 4 stars and a 2.5 chili pepper rating. This was the most surprising to me, because when I first started the book I hated the MMC so much. He was just smug, arrogant, rude, just with no reason to be any of those things. This man turned out to be the most obsessed, like worshipping, just loyal, loving man ever. He saw her naked and was just on his knees, and she was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I don't know, I think I'm praying." Like, he was obsessed with her in the best way. So yeah, I did enjoy it. It was fun, it was heartfelt in the same way that Out on a Limb was, and yeah, I'm looking forward to Next to You, which is the next one, following her friend Lane. But we know who she gets with because it tells you at the end of the book, so. I knew it was Lane because she's described as having pink hair, and I know that she has pink hair on the cover. I did DNF a book, which I will quick talk about now. Before I started reading Next of Kin, I did try and read The Hurricane Wars. I got 50 pages in, listening to it and reading it at the same time. I was trying out the immersive reading because I tried reading a chapter before reading One Dark Window and I couldn't get into it then. I thought it was because I was really tired and my brain just wasn't picking it up. No, it's just, this is not an easy book to get into or to follow. I've DNF'd it because I felt like we were given too much information without any explanation. So I didn't know what was going on at all. You're starting off, you're already 10 years into a war anyway, and I just didn't care in the slightest. I think it could have been, the premise sounded like something I would have been really into, but the execution just wasn't it for me. And I could tell that from 50 pages. I didn't want to force myself to read something that I couldn't. So I've tried twice this month to read this book, so I think it's going to be a hard DNF, and when I next do an unhaul, it's probably going to go. Unless someone can say something to really change my mind about this book. And the final book that I read, I will say I listened to some of this on audiobook while I was doing other things because it was a 24-hour readathon and I couldn't sit and read the whole time. Anyway, I also listened to this a little bit because I was running, it was getting late and I had so many hours left and I was like, okay, I need to do my dishes, I need to cook my tea, so I listened to a lot of this as well, but I really enjoyed it. And I finally started Throne of Glass. This is the Assassin's Blade. I'm starting with this one first. Listen, this made me think, why have I waited so long to read this book? It's so good, and to get into the series. I've rated it a 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was just a compilation of novellas that weren't related to each other and maybe had different timelines, but this basically is a book. I mean, it clearly is a book, but what I mean is every novella follows on from each other and they follow the same timeline and they relate to each other in some way, like because they're following on from each other. So it just felt like I was reading a regular book rather than a compilation of novellas. Oh, this broke my heart. I knew something was going to happen purely because I saw a name I had not seen anywhere else. Aside from that, I have not had this spoiled for me at all as a series. I have no idea what's happened. In fact, if anything, this has made me confused about what Throne of Glass is about. Because I thought I knew. Now, with the end of this, I'm like, did I know? I read the back of it, I did know. But I'm still very confused, I'll be honest. So I'm so looking forward to reading this. The problem is, I'm in the middle of a reading fantasy books video, and this is going to be its own video of reading the Throne of Glass series, so I need to read something in between before I can continue reading the series. But I'm so looking forward to reading Throne of Glass, you have no idea. I think it's been the best for me to read this first because I am now already so invested in Celaena, and I think I'm going to go into it with so much background knowledge about who she is, where she's come from, that I think I'm just going to really appreciate Throne of Glass as a first book even more. So I'm really glad I've read this first, to be honest with you. But I could see the merits of reading it later, possibly. But personally, I think reading it first is a good idea. I don't know, I could be wrong, but It does say in the back, I know she says to read them in release order, which means Throne of Glass is first, but in the back it just say the next book in the series, Throne of Glass, here's an excerpt, so I'm just saying. But I thoroughly enjoyed this, I really did. I'm so looking forward to starting this series. I was meant to start it in February, but with being in a reading slump, I wanted to be in the right mindset, and right now I am in the mindset of I just want to sit down and read, and I'm actually enjoying it properly again. So yes, stay tuned. There will be a Throne of Glass reading vlog. I haven't decided if it's going to be spoiler free or spoiler full or not, but it will say in the title. Anyway, yeah, I read The Assassin's Blade, absolutely loved it. The story, the writing was really good because it just got to the point really quick with things, but I really felt like I was there with her, and I love the characters, not all of them, but that obviously the character I don't like, I'm meant to not like. So yeah, anyway, I've had a really good reading month. The end far better than the beginning, definitely, but I have really good feelings about April as a reading month. I think it's gonna be the best one yet. So these are technically 8 of the 10 books I read this month. Yeah. Let me know what you think. If you've read Throne of Glass and which way around you've read it, let me know what you think about the reading order. Just, I'm curious. I am going to be doing the tandem read. I've already annotated, like not annotated, what's the word? I've already stickered it up so I know when I'm swapping? Why did I say that? I know when I'm swapping between books, so that's going to be exciting. So yeah, stay tuned for that. And also there's my 24-hour readathon coming this month, April, next, oh no, it is April as I'm filming this, and there'll be my fantasy reading vlog as well, so stay tuned for both of those. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!